It's October 14th, 1066, a small village called Hastings in southern England. Two armies are about to clash, and the outcome will completely reshape the history of England, change the entire culture of the country, and create consequences that are still felt today. This isn't just another medieval battle. This is the moment that changed everything about what it means to be English. This is the Battle of Hastings. Let's go back a little bit. 9 months earlier, King Edward the Confessor dies in England. He's got no direct heir, which means the throne is basically up for grabs. Now there are 3 major contenders. First, there's Harald Godwinson, a powerful English earl who is sitting next to Edward on his deathbed. According to some accounts, Edward basically indicated that Harald should be king. Harold's got the support of the English nobility, so he declares himself king. Seems settled, right? Wrong. The second contender is William, Duke of Normandy. Now, William's got a legitimate claim too. He says that years earlier, Edward promised him the English throne. He's got powerful Norman allies, and he's not just going to give up. And then there's the third contender, Harald Hardrada, the King of Norway. He's a Viking warrior king, brutal, ambitious, and he's got his own ideas about who should sit on the English throne. 3 powerful men, 1 crown. Something's gotta give. Harald Hardrada decides to make his move first. In September, he invades northern England with a massive Norwegian fleet. He's got thousands of warriors, and they're devastating the north. But Harald Godwinson doesn't hesitate. He marches his army north incredibly fast, catches the Norwegians off guard, and absolutely destroys them at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Harald Hardrada dies in that battle, and the Norwegian threat is completely eliminated. Harold's feeling pretty confident now. He's beaten 1 rival, he's got the English crown, and things are looking good. But then, just 3 days after his victory in the north, Harald gets devastating news. William of Normandy has landed in southern England. He's got an invasion fleet with thousands of soldiers, horses, and supplies. William's been planning this invasion meticulously. He's gathered support from his allies, he's built ships, he's been training his army, and he's been waiting for his moment. Now he's arrived with roughly 7,000 warriors. Harald has a problem. He's just fought an exhausting battle in the north. His army is tired. Some soldiers have been released to go back to their homes, but he doesn't have time to rest. William is in the south, and if Harald doesn't deal with him quickly, William will consolidate his position and become unstoppable. So Harald does something risky. He gathers his remaining forces and marches them south as fast as he can. On October 13th, Harald reaches Hastings and sets up his position on a hill. His army is maybe 6,000 strong, mostly infantry, with very few mounted soldiers. His men are exhausted from the long march. Many didn't have time to get proper equipment, and some are still recovering from the northern campaign. But Harald has advantages too. His army has a strong defensive position. They're on high ground. They've got a shield wall formation. That's proven effective in English warfare for centuries, and they've got the home advantage. They know the terrain. William's army arrives the next morning. His forces are more diverse. He's got Norman knights on horseback, which is a big advantage because cavalry weren't super common in English warfare at this time. He's got archers, he's got infantry. His soldiers are well-equipped and well-organized. And William, unlike Harald, hasn't just fought a major battle. His troops are fresh. The morning of October 14th is cold and misty. Visibility is poor, but William decides to attack immediately. The battle starts with William's archers loosening volleys of arrows at the English shield wall, but the English are protected by their shields, and the arrows mostly bounce off or get absorbed. The archers aren't having the effect William wanted, so he orders his infantry forward. They charge up the hill towards the English shield wall. The English hold their ground, and the fighting is brutal. Men are dying by the hundreds. The Norman infantry pushes hard, but they can't break through the English line. They retreat back down the hill. Then William sends his cavalry. Knights on horseback charge up the hill, and this is where things start to get interesting. The cavalry is more dangerous than the infantry, but the English shield wall is still holding. However, at some point during the cavalry charge, something happens that changes everything. Some of the Norman cavalry units pretend to retreat. They turn their horses around and charge back down the hill. Now, this might have been a tactical maneuver, or it might have been an actual rout. But either way, when the Norman cavalry appears to be retreating, some English soldiers break formation and chase them down the hill, thinking they've won. This is a disaster for the English. By breaking formation and charging down the hill, they've abandoned their defensive advantage. When they're in the open, on flat ground, the Norman cavalry can wheel around and cut them off. The pursuing English soldiers get surrounded and slaughtered. Hundreds of them die. The Norman cavalry charges back up the hill, and now there's a gap in the English shield wall. This is the crucial moment. If the English can close that gap and reform their line, they might still win. The battle is still balanced. But Harold's losing control of the battlefield. His commanders are struggling to reorganize the scattered troops. The Normans press their advantage, pushing further and further up the hill. As the afternoon wears on, the battle becomes increasingly desperate for the English. The Norman archers adjust their tactics. Instead of aiming straight ahead at the shield wall, they start firing arrows high into the air, so they rain down on the English from above. It's incredibly effective. English soldiers start falling from arrows coming down from the sky. They can't shield themselves from above in the same way they can from direct shots. And then, around the end of the day, Harold takes an arrow to the eye. Whether it was one of the arrows from the sky or a direct shot is debated by historians, but Harold goes down. Some accounts say he was killed instantly. Others say he was wounded and then finished off by Norman cavalry. But either way, Harold Godwinson, the King of England, is dead. When the English see their king go down, morale completely collapses. What was a desperate fight becomes a rout. English soldiers start fleeing the battlefield. The Norman cavalry pursues them, cutting them down as they run. By evening, the Battle of Hastings is over. The English are defeated. Harold is dead, and William the Conqueror has won the throne of England. But what's the actual significance of this battle? Why does it matter so much? Well, the Battle of Hastings fundamentally changed English civilization. For centuries, England had been relatively culturally and linguistically connected to Scandinavia and Northern Europe because of Viking invasions and settlements. But when William won, he brought Norman French culture into England. The Norman nobility became the ruling class. French became the language of the court and the nobility. Over the following centuries, French and English gradually merged, creating modern English, which is why English has so many French words in it today. The class system changed. The old Anglo-Saxon nobility was largely wiped out or displaced. Lands were redistributed to Norman supporters of William. The entire feudal system was reorganized according to Norman patterns. The church became more centralized and connected to Rome. Architecture changed. Language changed. The very identity of England changed. If Harold had won at Hastings, England probably would have developed very differently. It might have stayed more connected to Scandinavian culture. The Norman conquest set England on a completely different historical trajectory. It led directly to the Norman kingdom, which eventually became the English monarchy we know today. It shaped English law, English language, English culture, everything. The irony is that William faced a real possibility of defeat that day. English had a strong defensive position. If Harold's army hadn't broken formation, if the shield wall had held, if Harold hadn't been killed or hadn't gone down at that crucial moment, history could have gone a completely different direction. One arrow, one moment of panic, one broken line, and the entire future of England changed. More than 950 years have passed since the Battle of Hastings, and we're still talking about it. We're still studying it. It's still considered one of the most important battles in history. And that's because, unlike most medieval battles, this one actually mattered. This one changed the world. This one created consequences that echoed through centuries and shaped the destiny of an entire